Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, it's your host, Cogee. I'm in the house today. We got a very special show. Hey, this is our third show. I've been falsely accused, part 3. And let me tell you something. We really going to bring it today. We got people coming on today that really is going to touch your heart. They're going to make you really think twice about being out there in them streets and what can happen to you. I want to say, hey, today's a great day for knowledge. Today's a great day just to be exonerated. You know what I'm saying? We're going to bring some more people out today, hopefully, with what we're trying to do. I want y'all to stay tuned in. Don't touch them dials. We're going to come back with a great show. Today's a powerful Monday. And, hey, I'm loving it today. You know what I'm saying? We got some great guests on here. And like I said, we had great guests on our other 2 shows leading into the third show. You don't want to miss it. So it's Cogee, baby, and we'll be right back, and we're going to get underway. All right? Don't touch them dials. Be safe out there in them streets.
I lost graduation. I lost the prom. I lost going out on dates.
He went into prison just a boy, came out a man. Jeffrey Deskovic spent 16 years of his life behind bars for a crime he didn't commit, killing a high school classmate back in 1989.
I was convicted at age 17 of a murder and rape, despite a negative DNA test showing semen found in the victim didn't match me.
In 2006, DNA evidence cleared his name. Deskovic walked out of a New York prison a free man.
One of the things that people have been asking about is your research proposal.
Now he spends his days in a criminal justice class. He tries not to think about the injustice he's faced, but it's hard when the woman he says could have helped shave 6 years off of his sentence is being nominated to the Supreme Court.
I crossed paths with Judge Sotomayor because I had filed a habeas corpus petition and the federal court just below hers.
The appeal made its way to Judge Sotomayor's court, but it was denied. The reasoning? Because it was filed 4 days late. So as a result, Deskovic remained in jail.
A ruling to uphold a case like that on a technicality in light of the innocence, that is not empathy.
But legal experts say Sotomayor's ruling wasn't unusual. It turns out the vast majority of habeas petitions are denied, mainly because of the stringent procedural standards set forth by Congress.
Anyone who's outraged by this opinion or by this set of circumstances, and it certainly is something that it's perfectly legitimate to be upset about, and more than upset if you're Deskovic, who had to spend time in prison for a crime he didn't commit. But really the person, the group to complain to is Congress, not the judges.
Is there still a board or some authoritative structure that's supposed to review?
Deskovic realizes his input is unlikely to change the outcome of Sotomayor's nomination. But it is a chance to tell his story, and for him, that's enough.
Every aspect of the system failed me, including judges, including Judge Sotomayor.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We back. Miss Peaches, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Cogee, and yourself?
I'm doing fine. Let me ask you a question, Miss Peaches. You heard that a minute ago. What did you think about Jeffrey's story, just a minute ago?
Man, he was done completely wrong by everybody, and he was so young.
Yeah.
That's really a hands off our children moment, you know?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. But look, you know what? I look at it like this. A lot of people out there right now, they don't understand what's going on with the justice system, and that, you should know the law. But the thing about it is that a lot of people are getting some bad deals right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they are. And one thing that we know from the research that we've been doing over this time doing these shows is that a lot of the time does not fit the crime.
No, not at all. Not at all. And
yeah.
We done had some great guests come through the show. But the thing about it, they done lost a lot of time. That time they can't get back. You heard him say he missed the prom, and a few of the exonerees, they lost their parents, their grandparents, brothers, sisters, everything. They didn't even get to see their kids grow up. Half of them went in, their kids were newborn, and then when they get out, their kids got kids. You know what I'm saying?
Like a quarter of all of the exonerees that we've talked to, practically a quarter of their life is gone.
Yeah, you're definitely right on that. So let's do this. Let's tell them about this great guy that's going to come in right now, Jeffrey, and then we're going to bring Jeffrey on in.
Okay, well, you guys did hear about him through his clip, but he's had a long road. He has gotten out of prison, exonerated, and been released. He's into litigation. That he has 4 goals with his foundation that he founded. The Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice is to battle wrongful convictions. 4 goals: raise awareness, obtain legislative changes to prevent wrongful convictions, clear those who have been wrongfully convicted, not simply in DNA cases, but also in non-DNA cases, and help the exonerated reintegrate back into society. Since his release, he has completed a BA degree from Mercy College and is now putting the finishing touches on his thesis in order to receive a master's degree. So he went through a lot, but he came out smoking, and he's doing a lot of great things.
You know that's right. Well, let's not wait no more. Jeffrey, how you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you know what? I appreciate it. And I just want to let you know, I'm very proud of you, man. But I'm proud that, all you guys kept the faith and y'all kept fighting.
Absolutely. Without that, I wouldn't have made it.
No, that's right. But let me ask you this. Like I ask everybody that come on the show, how did you keep your faith and how did you keep from breaking all the way down all those years you was in prison, to just be like, oh, man, I done tried. They ain't going to let me out. Forget it. You know what I'm saying? How did you keep your whole awareness up with that?
Well, it was a variety of factors. It was not really just one answer. I mean, certainly my belief in God was one thing. Secondly, I knew that nobody was coming to my rescue, so if I was going to clear my name and therefore regain my freedom, I was going to have to recruit somebody that I didn't already have a prior tie to, and so I didn't have the luxury of allowing myself to fall apart mentally.
Right.
And then I would found different things to throw myself into mentally.
Right. And how does a young man go to prison and stay that long and deal with it? What did you have to go through just to get adjusted to that situation?
Well, you kind of you try to fall into a routine. I mean, you talk to some of the old timers who've been there for a while, and then you resort to the devices that I mentioned to you. And I did a lot of reading of nonfiction books, and I had no choice but to familiarize myself with the law so that I could enable me to fight my case better.
Right. And some of the like you said, the older guys that was in the prison, who are some of those people that when you just think about them, man, they make you feel good, that they really stuck by you and really helped you out through that situation?
Without a doubt, the person who would top my list would be Frank Sterling, who we knew of each other's cases, and we kept each other going for about 13 and a half years. I believed in his innocence, and he believed in mine. And not only would we keep each other going in terms of morale, but we would also strategize and figure out what the next move is. I was exonerated prior to him being exonerated. And I spoke about his case in the media. I wrote an article about it, and I'm happy to share that a year and a half ago, he too was proven innocent through DNA testing.
Wow. So, do y'all still kind of hang out right now and still talk a lot?
We still talk. We still talk on the phone, and sometimes I make the 5-hour trip up to see him.
Okay.
And sometimes he gets down to the city. I mean, it takes months. It's not like an everyday thing, but we still keep in contact, though, without a doubt.
Right. That's cool. But let me ask you this: what does that whole long-term jail stay do to a man's soul and his spirit, man, after so long? Even though y'all out now, I talk to Maurice and a lot of other people, man, and they still say, man, their soul is still restless from that situation. How do you deal with that from day to day?
Well, I can't forget about not only what happened to me, but also the people who I metaphorically left behind. And so the way that I deal with that is I take the energy and I channel it into my advocacy work. Before I founded the foundation, I mean, I was just an individual advocate. I mean, I hit the lecture circuit. I did about 80 presentations. I was a columnist where I wrote about wrongful conviction issues for 4 years. I lobbied elected officials. I testified at legislative hearings, and I did multimedia interviews. And as was referenced earlier in the program, I've recently founded the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice to continue that advocacy work, but then with the added legal component to it of clearing people and the reintegrative. And I just would like to share that, I took $1.5 million of money that I received by way of compensation in order to launch the foundation.
Wow. Man, that's a great thing. You know, you'd definitely be blessed for that. Like I said, you took that money, man, you put it basically back into the community to try to help them, you know, overcome this whole situation. And I give you a lot of props on that.
Thank you. I mean, you know, my dream is just if we can just clear just one person. You know, we can clear just one person, then it would definitely be worth it. That would be a dream scenario for me.
That's right. You're definitely right on that. I'm going to go to Miss Peaches real quick, and we come back. We're going to get into your story, man, and give people a little background. Hold on. Before we do that, Jeffrey, give us your websites for your organization and everything. So while I'm talking to you, people can be, you know, looking up your situation, man, and, you know, throw your lifeline.
Absolutely. The website is the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice.org. That's spelled JEFFREYDESKOVIC, foundationforjustice.org.
Okay, there it is. Miss Peaches, tell us about Jeffrey today. What you think about the guy?
I think he's doing great things, and it just goes to show that you can be put through hell on earth, and you have a heart of a lion, and you can stay strong and do really great things. And I just think that he's an inspiration for anybody that's listening that hasn't been through what he's been through, but maybe gets down on themselves at certain times. He's definitely an inspiration to everybody.
Right. You're definitely right on that. And, you know, as well as all the other exonerees that's been on the show, because a lot of them then got out and they've, you know, ain't been going back. You know what I'm saying? They've been walking the chalk line. They've been out, you know, freedom fighting, helping putting the word out. And even a lot of people that I know that were on house arrest and probation and all them. A lot of guys, man, did that with no problem. Like they wasn't even on it. You know what I'm saying? So people can change, and you can have in your mind that I'm going to be a great person no matter what my circumstances were. But today, I'm going to be a great person, and I want to give applause, and I want to say, you know, hey, much love to everybody out there who's walking the chalk line and doing right and proving this whole system wrong. You know what I'm saying? Speeches.
Yes, I agree. I mean, we have had, you know, even gentlemen that they get out and they're still dealing with charges and things that are still, you know, hanging on them that they can't shake that loose, and they're still walking the line, like you said, and doing what they need to do. And we know that every day they wake up is a blessing, but also a struggle. So we really appreciate them. That's
right. You're definitely right. But I want to ask Jeffrey this. Jeffrey, what about the people that get exonerated, but they ain't got their record, you know, sponged? What about that whole situation?
Well, I'm fortunate because, you know, my case originated in New York, and there's a law which allows for automatic expungement. But I do know other exonerees in other states who don't get their records automatically expunged, and some of them are still struggling to get it expunged.
Right. And what can some people do to work on getting it expunged? Because I heard it's like $6,000 in some states to get it expunged.
Yeah. You know, I really believe that somebody needs to bring a legal challenge to that. I mean, just getting an attorney who believes in the cause, and I think that there are credible legal arguments to be made. I mean, even just proceeding in court, they have what's called forma pauperis when a person is poor and they can't afford to hire their own attorney. A provision is made so they're able to obtain representation, albeit very often not good representation. But that's a different subject. But I'm just saying that I think that there's things in place within the law that really well-crafted arguments could succeed when it comes to that.
Right, because those guys can't even get a job. They can't even get a decent job, even though literally, you know, and by law with them being exonerated, they don't have a record.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I do very much. I understand exactly what you're saying.
And they still can't feed their families, where they're having a hard time struggling, you know, trying to maintain a roof over their head and everything. And I just feel that ain't right, man. That part hurts me so much, that you can be exonerated, and you know, you like with you, and when it's time to get out of jail, if something ain't filed right, you still got to stay there.
Right. You know, I want to add, building off of your point, is that, you know, there's many states in which they don't have any provision in law in that state, even for the person who's been exonerated, to obtain financial compensation. Wow.
I mean, I don't understand that. You know, I know they say that the legal system, and don't get me wrong, they are doing their job, you know, if they catch somebody or they bring them in and the case is done. But if you know that it's somebody else lurking around out there and you got the wrong person, that ain't justice, and that ain't the case being taken care of.
Yeah, that's a great point. In many cases, my own included, the actual perpetrator left free is able to strike again. I mean, not only did the actual perpetrator in my case kill the victim, but then left free, he killed a school teacher 3.5 years later.
Wow. I mean, that's why I said we definitely got to do something with this whole situation, man, to try to even get people out quicker so the police can get back on the case and catch the real person quicker and put them in jail. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I also advocate the passage of reform so that we can get it right in the first place. That this way here we don't send the wrong person to prison, and that we waste even less time in apprehending the actual perpetrator. I mean, measures like videotaping interrogations from beginning to end, better identification procedures, safety protocols when it comes to incentivized witnessing, better system of public defense, standardized evidence preservation system. These are all, something to restrain rogue prosecutors from engaging in clear-cut intentional prosecutorial misconduct. These are all tools that can make the system more accurate, because in the ultimate analysis, it's a public safety issue.
Right. You're definitely right on that. And, that's something, like I said, we definitely have to take care of it, because I don't understand if you get the DNA back, you've been exonerated. The judge say, okay, well, we're going to let him out. That's fine. You should be able to walk out of that courtroom, out the front door. I don't think you should even, because they already know in the case file, they're ready to let you go. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I had a really bizarre experience along those lines. I mean, when I was transferred from Sing Sing Correctional Facility to the court, now they already know they're going to let me go. They even gave me an ID card, to use, for 45 days before I get like a driver's or non-driver's license. Yeah, and still they drove me to the courthouse, in handcuffs, chain around my waist, and my legs fastened together.
Oh, wow. Still treated you as if you were that criminal that they thought you were, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Well, let's do this. Let's let everybody know a little background on you, why you went to prison, and let them know how long you were in prison before, they let you out. And, you can bring us back up to speed. What were the factors which caused you, for the wrongful conviction?
Sure. My wrongful conviction was caused by coerced false confession, prosecutorial misconduct, fraud by the medical examiner, and a public defender. Many people think that only an innocent person, that only a guilty person would confess, but in point of fact, false confessions have been the cause of wrongful convictions in 25% of the 290 DNA-proven wrongful convictions. Particularly vulnerable populations have been identified as juveniles as well as people with mental illness. Factors which led to it in my case, I was driven to another county. I was put in a small room. I wasn't given anything to eat. They attached a polygraph machine to me. My parents didn't know where I was. I didn't have an attorney present. They gave me countless cups of coffee in the beginning of it, so that this way here later on, when they could then claim, well, the polygraph results are showing you deceptive, because they've already rigged that to happen by applying me with the caffeine. They played good cop, bad cop. They gave me the third degree. They raised their voice at me. Eventually, towards the end, the officer who was pretending to be my friend, he came in the room and told me that the other officers were going to harm me, but that he was holding them off, but couldn't do so indefinitely. Right. You got to help yourself here. Then when he added, if I did as I wanted, not only would they stop what they were doing, but I could go home afterwards. Being young, naive, and frightened, just 16, not thinking long term, but just concerned in the moment with my safety. Right. I made up a story based on information they gave me in the course of their questioning me. By the police officer's own testimony, by the time it was over, I was on the floor, on the ground, crying in a fetal position. Fraud by the medical examiner. Once the DNA evidence before the trial showed that the semen in the victim didn't match me, the prosecutor had the medical examiner commit fraud. 6 months after doing the initial autopsy, suddenly for the first time he claimed that he found medical evidence to show that the victim had been sexually active, which opened the door for him to argue, well, that the semen could have come from a consensual encounter, even mentioning somebody by name. So in order to wrongfully convict me, he was willing to trash the reputation of the victim, who, they knew she had no boyfriend. She had lived in the country for 1.5 years as an immigrant from Colombia, living a really sheltered life in which she never went outside, save accompanied by her older sister or her parents. Right. Inadequate public defender. He never explained to the jury what the significance of the DNA exclusion was, or used it to argue that the so-called confession was coerced and was not true. And he never asked that medical examiner who committed the fraud a single question.
Wow, that's crazy. Miss Peach, just chime in.
Man, my mouth is laying on the floor right now. I mean, I am blown away, Cogee, by his story, because he was a child.
Right.
A child. It seems that in a perfect world, in a perfect place, this whole situation would have been stopped when how you were treated even came to light, because you were a juvenile. So, I mean, from what my knowledge, all of that is wrong. And then for it all, to thank God, be able to be proven that it was not you. I mean, what dirty tricks they were playing, dealing with Jeffrey.
Right. Then to, make you to confess to something and come up with a story.
Right.
I mean, this just made you destroy your life, man. And you was a child. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? You wasn't even capable of making your own decisions, basically, at 16. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you. You're right.
That's really sad. But you know what? Describe your appeal process.
Sure. I lost all 7 of my appeals. I went to the appellate division. My primary issues on appeal were my innocence, as demonstrated by the DNA, and my Fifth Amendment rights had been violated. The court found nothing wrong with the way I'd been questioned, and further, they said there was overwhelming evidence of guilt, which made no sense because the forensics were in my behalf. They ruled against me 5-0.
Right.
My lawyer moved to re-argue the case in front of them, arguing that the decision was running contrary to the facts and the law, but that was denied. The New York State Court of Appeals declined to give me permission to appeal to them, so I lost there. I lost at the federal habeas corpus level because the court clerk gave my attorney inaccurate advice regarding the filing procedure, as a result of which my petition arrived 4 days late. So there I got time barred. Then I appealed that to the United States Federal Court of Appeals, where Justice Sonia Sotomayor was one of the 2 judges. My lawyer advanced 3 arguments that this was not a delay caused either by myself or my attorney or by inaccurate information by the court clerk, that upholding a ruling like that would be to cause a miscarriage of justice to continue, and that reversing the procedural ruling would open the door for more sophisticated DNA testing. But again, I was denied there. My lawyer moved to re-argue the case in front of them, but that got denied, and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to give me permission to appeal to them. So really, not only did I lose 7 appeals, but there was only one time in which I actually got a ruling on the merits on all of that. Ultimately, I was cleared because more sophisticated DNA testing was employed, and it not only reaffirmed my innocence, but identified the actual perpetrator.
Right. And when we come right back, I want to talk about that, what you said about, they identified the perpetrator, and I also want to talk about, what a 16-year-old young man goes through mentally through all this trauma. You know what I'm saying? So We'll hold that till we come right back. We're going to take a break. Everybody, hey, you're listening to Conversations with Cogee. Stay tuned in. You don't want to touch that dial. We got my man Jeffrey on here. He's going to finish telling you a story when he come back, and you want to hear it. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. All right, we back, everybody. Welcome back. Name of the show today, I've Been Falsely Accused, Part 3. We coming strong today, everybody. We just want y'all to know this is a really powerful show with great information. And like I said, we got the exonerees on here, and they telling their story, telling not only how they got set up, but how they got set up even while they were still in the system, not to be able to get out. But they found a way to get out. And it's a lot of great people like the Innocence program, a lot of other people that was fighting for them other than the Innocence program, to help them get out. And, that's what it's about today. So I'm going to come back to you, Jeffrey.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, Jeffrey, let me ask you this. When you kept losing your appeals, what did that do to you mentally as a young man?
You ride highs and lows, and when I would lose, the crash down to earth, man, it was fast and loud. And then right after that, you gotta try to pick yourself back up and reorient yourself to the next appeal, at which point I was sure that justice would be done, and my conviction would be overturned, and I'd be freed. So when I lost my last appeal in 2001, from that point till when I was released in 2006, that was the hardest point in time for my incarceration.
Wow. How did you deal with that when you say it was your hardest time? Can you break it down to us a little bit? Help the people
Absolutely.
understand?
There no longer was a legal proceeding that I could look at or reorient myself or place my hopes in. So at that point, I began this massive letter writing campaign, and I wrote anyone and everyone I could possibly think of who could help me either directly or indirectly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I very rarely got answers on any of those. Eventually, though, in 2005, I had a chance encounter in the mail with an investigator, Claudia Whitman. I was actually writing a book author, but someone at the organization opened the letter, read it, and sent it to Miss Whitman, and she gave me ideas, and she tried to get people to take my case. And one of the ideas she gave me was write the Innocence Project again, which is a not-for-profit organization in Manhattan that works to clear prisoners in cases in which DNA testing can demonstrate innocence and in which no prior testing had been conducted. The problem I ran into originally when I wrote them in 92, 93 was that prior testing had been conducted, but I nonetheless had been convicted. And since they hadn't dealt with that problem before and we didn't have the DNA database in existence, they told me that there was nothing further they could do for me. But Ms. Whitman advised me that with the advances in DNA technology, that the prior denial was irrelevant and I should write them again, which is what I did. And ultimately, that set in motion a chain of events which led to me to be cleared.
Okay. Ms. Peach, just chime in real quick.
Cogee, I was just wondering if I could ask a quick question.
Yeah.
As a mother, how did your parents deal with you, Jeffrey? Did they believe in you? Were they behind you? How was your support from them?
Sure. My mother believed in me. She used to come see me every couple of weekends. But and I know it was really difficult for her not just to see me in that setting, but also when it was time to go and she could go home and she had to leave me behind. I know that part was really difficult for her.
Right.
You're definitely right on that. You know what, Jeffrey, I want to ask you this, and I want to give a shout out to somebody too on this situation. I want you to do it. Who are some of the people that stuck by you in jail through your whole situation other than your mom? And don't too many people do that for people, when they gone for a long time. Who would you want to, give a shout out to on that situation? Or is it anybody?
Just Frank Sterling. And that would be it.
Right.
Everybody else were people that would kind of like they come and go. I mean, I guess from their perspective, you get tired of dealing with it. I guess. It's not. It's usually the state houses you far away from where it's easy to visit. It's a long trip. It wears on you. It's costly.
Right.
People are living their lives also, and so it's difficult. So. I understand it, but at the same time, really, there really wasn't any one consistent person other than Mrs. Sterling or my mother. Everyone else were people that just periodically came in and out of the picture as the years wore on.
Right. And what would you say to a parent, that has a young kid that's going through this situation with the court system and they only 16 or 15 or 14, but they get done the way you got done? Is that anything that the parent can do to say, hey, hold on. Number one, y'all screened him with nobody around, no legal guardian, no nothing. And this is a child. Is it anything that a parent can do? Or what's your advice on that situation?
A few things. Firstly, I definitely advocate educating the children even before they have any police contact, just as a general matter of training, just like we teach our kids, not to accept candy from a stranger or to take a ride with a stranger. We need to teach our kids that if a police officer wants to talk to you, they have to give their name and their address, and the third thing they should say is, I want a lawyer. There's nothing so critical that police officers need to talk to you about that it can't wait for there to be a lawyer to be present, and the lawyer will make sure that the police don't coerce you. So, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that's the first thing. Second thing, if you're already in that situation already, stay on top of the lawyers for sure, and don't give up. If I had given up, I would still be where I was.
Right.
And in terms of the child himself being incarcerated, or even an adult for that matter, don't lose sight of the goal. The goal is to prove your innocence and regain your freedom. Don't get caught up in the prison politics and stuff around you that you see. The people that have this cloud of destruction over their head. You got to avoid that, and just stay focused on the goal.
Right, I hear you. So what were the after effects of your experiences, Jeffrey?
Yeah, multifold. Firstly, I had to relearn technology. Just to give some context, when I was originally incarcerated, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, there was no GPS, we didn't have sophisticated methods of banking, and we didn't have like Blog Talk Radio or any of the technology that we take for granted. So there's that. Then I've had to try to rebuild relations with my extended family. I mean, when I meet them, it's a difficult experience because even though I know who they are intellectually based on my memories from when I was a child, I don't know who they are as people anymore, and they don't know who I am. Prior to receiving compensation, I always struggled financially because I was never able to obtain gainful employment because I don't have the same amount of experience that other people applying for jobs would be. All the friends I used to have long since moved away, moved on, and then become different people. So it's difficult for me to rebuild a life socially.
Right.
And within the dating context, my background is often a hindrance. Those are some of the things. In addition to all the dealing with the mental trauma of going through my experience.
Right. So how did they compensate you, or did they compensate you when you was out? For your lost time.
Sure. When I was released, I was released with nothing. I just had the suit that I had on to start my life over again. I did file lawsuits in federal court and state court, but it was that took about 4 years before I was able to settle any of those cases. But during that window period between release and that time, I wasn't given anything, and I very nearly wound up in a homeless shelter. So right now I'm still litigating. Yeah, right now I'm still litigating against two defendants who were involved, the police departments of Peekskill and Putnam County. But I was able to settle the other lawsuits, but it took a long time.
Right, I hear you. So how important is it for you to be an advocate right now? Through all what you just said, how important is it for you to fight for this cause?
Oh, it's very important. It's essential. It's who I am. I believe in a higher calling, a sense of purpose, a mission, make a difference, give back. A lot of the things really that you and the show are about. And so for me, I look at it like this is my calling to, make a difference in this area, to try to prevent some other people from experiencing what I experienced, and try to pull people out who currently are situated like that. It's essential for me even just to keep my sanity and it's even cathartic to talk about it. Right.
Do you still believe that DNA mistakes are still happening right now?
Oh, absolutely, because even though DNA exists, it's only, most people think that wrongful convictions can't happen now in this day and age because of DNA. But the thing is that DNA is only available in 10 to 12% of all serious felony cases. So most of the time, there is no DNA to test. And then on top of that, another problem is that within that small percentage of cases that does have DNA in it to test, that the DNA has either been is often lost or destroyed.
Right. So what reforms do you think can, change this whole situation?
Well, number one, having a standardized evidence preservation system so DNA evidence isn't lost. Videotaping interrogations from beginning to end. Better identification. Let's criminalize clear-cut intentional prosecutorial misconduct. Let's remove civil immunity so they could be subjected to civil liability, just like others in law enforcement, anyone else who violates another person's constitutional rights. Let's have a better system of public defense. Let's have one statewide system so that we can have oversight, quality control, that we can have equal pay for both sides, that we could limit caseloads instead of one attorney handling 120 or more cases per person, even resources for the prosecution and the public defense. Often, public offender has to resort to asking a judge to allocate discretionary funding for experts and investigators, and judges frequently turn that down, feeling pressure to keep costs of trials down. Those things. Then compensation in the middle between when a person's released, when their lawsuits are settled, and then having safety protocols. Incentivize witnessing when a person receives a reward in exchange for testimony, whether financial, getting less prison time, having charges dropped. And they come up with these astounding stories of people they just met in jail, having candid conversations with them, admitting to committing serious crimes. Let's have a transmission device and a recording device so we can be sure that these conversations actually take place rather than being the byproduct of someone who's caught red-handed in a desperate situation, who has no truthful testimony to trade on, and who won't hesitate to falsely incriminate other people.
Right. So you definitely believe that rats are getting a pass in the prison system?
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. And often it's not even that they're giving truthful testimony, but incentivized witnessing has been the cause of wrongful convictions for 15% of the 290 DNA proven wrongful convictions. So it's not even that they're telling on someone; they're incriminating they're incriminating innocent people.
Right. That's crazy, man. Definitely. So let me ask you this: do you think with the whenever you're being interrogated and you're a young person, can you ask to be video recorded? Can you do that?
Well, you can ask. You don't have a legal right to it.
Okay.
What you have a legal right to is to ask for an attorney, and they're supposed to stop questioning you once you ask for that. But I know that there's scenarios where they don't, but just insist that they give you an attorney and don't say anything further.
Right. I hear you. Just keep your mouth shut and wait for your attorney to come.
That's it.
Okay.
A lot of people think that, I'm innocent and I don't know anything about this. There's no harm in talking to this police officer here. I mean, after all, we're raised that, they're here for public safety. They're our friend, and, no, ask for your attorney. It's very, very important. Very important. A police officer, being a police officer is just like any other profession. There's good people in it and there's bad people in it.
You're definitely right on that. Hey, it's a bad apple on every tree, but it don't mean the tree's bad,
Absolutely. Right.
That's right. You know what? So let's do this. The Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. What can people do to help you out with that, man? What can my listeners do? How can they, check you out or see what they can do?
Sure. Well, listen, as I mentioned earlier, I gave us a running start. I donated $1.5 million to get started, but obviously I can't sustain the organization myself on my own indefinitely. We need to get donors. So we're we all have different levels of financial means. There's people who have a lot of money. If they want to contribute, make a sizable donation, that's needed. They can do that through the website, Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice.org. But then everyday people, President Obama, say whatever you will about any of his politics. He raised $100 million with donations ranging between $10 and $100. If we all do just a little bit, we can accomplish a lot. Beyond that, if you're a media person, you have any type of show, I'd love to come on and be able to talk about the foundation. That's a way of raising awareness about this important issue of wrongful convictions and the foundation.
Right, and that's why I had to do my part, man, and get you in here and talk to you about that. Not only your case, but to talk about your foundation and what you intend to do. How hard has it been with your foundation, to get over the hump, even though you put up $500,000 of your own money?
Yeah, well, it was $1.5 million, though.
$1.5 million. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, we just got started. We opened our doors in September. We had our launch event March 16th. We were able to get a nice initial blast of media attention, so that's went well. We have 6 active cases. We've been averaging like 30 to 60 requests for help each week. And we've gotten a few donations from people, but we need to continue. The ultimate aim is to make this thing sustainable. Beyond just the 3 years that are guaranteed. Right. Look, I'd love the foundation to outlive me.
Right.
Just because until we pass the reforms I talked about, which is not just my ideas, but it's backed by research from social scientists and who've done experiments to prove these measures would make the system more accurate. Until we pass all those things, we're always going to have wrongful convictions. And even after you pass that, in the end, it's a system run by human beings. And even the best of us, the most well-intentioned, we make mistakes. So there's always going to be a need for this. And I hope that this can be, we can make this sustainable, so this could be my long-lasting legacy that'll long outlive my own life.
I hear you, man. I definitely got that blessing on you, man. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that goes through for you. But I want to ask you this real quick, Jeffrey. What is the wrongful convictions doing to families nowadays?
Yeah, wrongful convictions, it doesn't just impact the person who's sent away or even the general community, as we covered that, but the families. When you send the wrong person to prison, you don't just send that person, you also send, their immediate, their extended family, and their friends. You break families up. You disrupt the natural cycle of life. They're just physically not present on important things such as births, deaths, weddings, all the normal holidays. You send you impact the entire family.
Right. Do you believe it sets the stage for a vicious cycle?
Yeah, I do, because people in some of the cases. People have grown up without like a parent or brother, and that it festers ill feelings between the two. And then when a person's cleared, and they, the family member who was free, who's been free, realizes that they had misplaced their feelings before, then that creates issues of guilt in and of itself. And just to hit another family angle of this, the families of victim family members, maybe have grown to hate the person that they believe has killed or raped their loved one, and then when they learn that that was misplaced, it was the wrong person, that really damages and destroys them as well, emotionally, psychologically. Even sometimes to the point where even where there's incontrovertible DNA evidence, they'll still hold on to a belief. Oh, I don't care what the DNA says. You were guilty, and I think it's because of so many years of believing that, and then we're you told an authority figure tells you that a prosecutor or police officer, we got the right guy. Who's not going to believe that in most situations? Yeah,
you're definitely right on that. But like I said, DNA is here to change the minds. I believe DNA is that's God right there. You know what I'm saying?
There's an exoneree who passed away. I want to give a shout. Just posthumously, Eddie Joe Lloyd. He was an exoneree from Michigan who did. I think it was between 16 and 18 years wrongfully before he was exonerated through testing, and he's passed. He's not with us anymore. But he had this wonderful saying on DNA, which you just brought to my mind. He used to say, DNA is God's signature in the world.
Got that right.
God's check is never God's signature is never a fraud, and his checks don't bounce.
There it is. You definitely right on that. Definitely right on that, man. Boy, y'all done went through some hell, but y'all made it out, man. And I'm so proud of you, and I want you to keep doing great. And real quick, we on short time. Words of encouragement to anybody out there, quick as possible.
Don't quit. Don't never give up. Persistence overcomes resistance. That, and just on a life lesson, appreciate the small things. Make the most out of each day, because you never know when the situation might turn and things we take for granted are suddenly not available.
Right. Okay. There it is. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. And like I said, I will be getting back in touch with you on some other stuff that I got that I'm gonna have coming up soon, and I'll talk to you about that. I'll call you and tell you about it.
Looking forward to it, Cogee. Again, thanks so much for having me on the show, and I want to thank the listeners as well who took the time to listen to this program. And you can email me through the site. Words that people send through emails, they that touches me. And then that just it makes me feel good. So please don't be shy when it comes to that. If anyone wants to say, hey, nice show, like what you're doing, God bless you, those things touch me.
Right. And you know what? You definitely deserve those words of encouragement, all you guys. So like I said, man, I believe in you. God bless you, and keep doing your thing.
You too, Cogee. Talk to you soon.
All right. I appreciate you. So everybody, it's been our first hour. That was my man Jeffrey Deskovic on here, and I'm telling you, he's doing some great things. Check out his foundation. Check out what he's about. You know what I'm saying? And I want y'all to stay tuned for the second hour. It's great to get powerful. You know what I'm saying? And then the third hour is even more powerful. So I want y'all to get ready. Keep your spirits up. Be safe out there in them streets. Watch them roads. And we'll be right back. Conversations with Cogee, baby.